Yes, now, and welcome back to episode 78 of the Top Loaded podcast. And we have a lot of things to talk about this week in terms of releases, delayed releases, upcoming stuff, and also other companies making moves within the scene. But first of all, Mr. HGA, how are you doing, my friend?
Yeah, very well. Thank you, mate. Very well. As I said, we've got a lot to talk about this week, a lot of new releases, a lot of stuff to discuss. So, yeah, looking forward to getting into it, mate. How are you?
Yeah, very well, very well. Especially tops galore. It seems over the past, 8 days, we've had three actual hobby releases. We've had Stadium Club Chrome, which released yesterday of recording, which obviously the Monday, which was bank holiday. And then last week, obviously, the brilliant release of Women's Chrome, and then prior to that, Merlin. So it's been a very busy week. Obviously, before we discuss the actual in terms of the actual products themselves, obviously, Tops did massively drop the ball within Europe on Merlin and Women's, which was sad because for people who don't know, if you ordered straight from Tops, it should come, especially for breakers and distributors, should come day of release, if not day before, so they can get out. Still not arrived in Europe yet as of recording this, but we're expecting a lot of people to receive it. So Tops just had an error at their end and they just never got collected. So on Thursday, by all accounts, distribution started to go out, FedEx, Express. So they're hoping for it today. But hey, it's one of them. Like the one major thing is you make the cards and then you get them out the factory. So it's a massive disappointment that we've had literally a week where Merlin and Women's Chrome's near enough been out now, and it still hasn't even serviced in Europe for break. So it's been a bit of a lackluster one because now Stadium Club Chrome's come out as well. It's gonna dilute it a bit because it's all three at the same time rather than like a staggered release.
Yeah, I think it's created a massive backlog and therefore a massive influx of breaks all happening at once. And a lot of breakers that are breaking all three products have now got a bit of an overflow of all three different products having to break all three different ones at the same time, rather than as you said, like a staggered release. And we're still waiting on breaker one to come out from all three products. So yeah, it's definitely caused a bit of mayhem for I'm sure a lot of breakers that are breaking all three products to have to try and now work a schedule around getting all three breaks filled and broken. So yeah, I mean, it's Tops here at the end of the day. We know they have their mishaps here and there, and this one probably top trumps a lot of them. Not being able to distribute the products in time for release, and like you say, it's been almost a week since, or it might have been a week now since obviously Women's was released, let alone Merlin. So yeah, it's disappointing. Obviously, a lot of people love watching breaks on day of release and seeing all the cards posted up on Instagram of what people have hit and big hits already. And I know we have seen some obviously big cards already hit in some of the products. But yeah, it's obviously a little bit disappointing to see that the products aren't particularly readily available in hand yet for breakers to break and for us to witness on whatnot, Twitch or wherever. So yeah, so hopefully we'll see some tonight, if not tomorrow. But yeah, it's just caused a bit of chaos for breakers now and trying to have to fit a scheduling around three different products to break at the same time.
Yeah, like, no doubt. Like everyone, and it's not even one of them. It was like one high anticipated release, and then three like two lower end ones. But Women's Stadium Club Chrome and Merlin are three of the staples for Topps release, especially hobby related. Obviously, it does help that you've seen a bit of Merlin and a bit of Women's due to the blasters being available in game. And obviously, for people who don't know, listening to this, day of recording obviously the Tuesday, but the Wednesday, so tomorrow. So Wednesday the 30th, the megas do go available in game. So if you are looking for a mega of the Stadium Club Chrome, do try and head down to your game to see if they have any in. If you want to like open up a RIP, which is probably a cheaper alternative, which is always recommended. Obviously, I think they're a similar layout to the blasters in terms of you get 3 or 4 I think it's 4 aquas in the mega, chance of autos and a one numbered. So if anyone wants to get their hands on it, that's your best bet at the moment. However, if we do turn our attention to Merlin to begin with, um, always going to be an interesting release. Merlin, one of the I would say called most look forward to sets of the year, especially over the last couple of years. It's been one of the best resale ones as well. So over to you, H. First of all, like, how have you found? Obviously, we've not seen as much as we wanted at this point to make a true judgment on Merlin, but it's looking good. It's looking like a typical Merlin release in terms of very good looking cards.
Yeah, definitely. I see, you pretty much hit the nail on the head in terms of, we haven't particularly seen too much of the product make a probably accurate judgment. But from what we have seen so far, it is a good release again. Obviously having the blasters available in game, obviously, to get your hands on it on the day of release properly this time. Yeah, you know, so I think there's some nice card designs. You know, it's been a popular release, and like we said, we've seen a lot of people ripping the blasters on Instagram. So, yeah, its first impressions are good. Obviously very similar to obviously Women's Chrome, but yeah, I think you know it's been a good release yet again. Staggered in terms of the blasters being released in game and the megas obviously being released tomorrow in Stadium Club Chrome. So that's been played out pretty well. But for Merlin, for me, first and foremost, yeah, I think you know it looks like another good release, popular. Like I said, one of the best products for resale value, and you know I think the card designs are nice. I know obviously it's interesting us with the number on the front that obviously we touched on last week, but yeah, no, I think it's very popular. I mean, I'm a big fan of it. I think you know out of the three products being released. Obviously, now I've banged on about Stadium Club Chrome for a little while now, so that will always top the chart for me. But yeah, I think Merlin's been a very good release so far. What do you think?
No, definitely. I think Merlin's always one of them that everyone looks forward to. And obviously, Checklist did grow a little bit more this year in terms of the neon green shimmer, which is the highest print run, is at 350, which is considerably higher than like in previous years. But it's always one of them that the parallels are very aesthetically pleasing. It's quite a lot of parallels you do. It's always been the same. I remember the first year Merlin, it was um to 1 of 1 to 5 to 10 to 15, and then 25 2 to 50s, 2 to 75s, 2 to 90 99, etc. But yeah, it's great release, some really good looking cards, and we'll probably have like do a proper comparison after talking about all three, because obviously everyone's got different experiences with cards and different styles they prefer. Merlin is one of them that I like, the kind of throwback look itself. It's always a nice one, and that reverts to Stadium Club Chrome as well, which we'll go into. It's the throwback style of the original Stadium Club from the 90s, which was more baseball related. But yeah, great release. Really nice looking cards in there. Like I say, now we're going to see a lot more broken in the UK. We're going to be able to form a much better judgment. But seeing a lot of it ripped in America, and also watching a load of breaks in China, which had the product, yeah, again, a very, very good release. Some really stacked boxes. What I've seen, like some really nice low lumber stuff. Some lovely autos in there. And talking about lovely autos, I think we have to talk about Stadium Club Chrome before we talk about women's, because I've got to say, I personally believe, before we talk about the aesthetics of how good some of the base cards look, hey, some of these autos on the checklist are fantastic. And some of the dual autos returning as well. They have really smashed it in terms of a very good checklist to go with a very good looking card set.
Yeah, unbelievable. I think you know for me, Stadium Club Chrome's always been like I've looked forward to this. And the checklist definitely is stacked, as I was going to say. Yeah, it looks incredible. You know, the card designs aside, the actual checklist itself. Also, you know, for us, obviously Arsenal fans, we haven't got too many cards in there. I think we've only got 5, I think, players on the checklist. But yeah, I mean, the auto checklist particularly is incredible. You know, you've got a lot of legends in there, a lot of rookies, a lot of new players, and I think you know, for me, the checklist really does sell Stadium Club Chrome, let alone the actual product design itself. I mean, yeah, obviously we have seen a lot of a few little glimpses here and there. Obviously, some breaks that have happened, and I think it just looks amazing. And obviously, we have seen that unfortunately, so 1 of 1 Martinelli has been pulled already. But obviously, I know me and you were looking up online and see if we could find any of the Arsenal players, see the card designs and what the pictures are looking like. And yeah, massively pleased with it. I think it looks really, really nice. I know a lot of cards. I mean, like, you've got a picture of Kaká, obviously, where he's on his knees. You've got, I know you were touching on a couple of cards that you were keeping your eyes on, obviously, purely down to the picture on the card. I think, you know, even for us, we've got 5 players: Saka, Martinelli, Erdegaard, Tomiyasu, Jorginho in the Arsenal checklist. I mean, all the card designs for me, bar Saka maybe, obviously, are really, really top notch. So yeah, the checklist is incredible. Card designs look incredible. And yeah, definitely can't wait to get my hands on a couple of cards.
Yeah, it's always one of them when the checklist looks. For us, we always go to Arsenal, and then you kind of just skim through it and see it. And then there was a certain name that drew a lot of interest in me, and it's Ronaldinho autos are now in tops. And this is a massive move because obviously he's been on and off signing with Panini, signed with Leaf in the past, but to have one, in my eyes, one of the best ever to watch footballers, one of my favourite players as well of all time. I can't wait to see what auto. I'm just hoping they've not gone for a boring picture for his auto. His base card looks fantastic in it. Him celebrating like clutching at his chest with the Barcelona badge on it. So I'm hoping the autos match it. But to now have like Ronaldinho live in sets, like I'm not one for collecting non-Arsenal, but I think there's always people have exceptions, right? And I think he's one of the greatest players of all time, which a lot of people will look at. But I was just looking through like all the different sets, and there's so many different ones. The only one that I've got a bit of problem with, and I was talking to a good friend of mine, Louis, about this yesterday, because he collects one of the original sets of Stadium Club Chrome, is the Championship Contributions, which normally is a very good looking set from 2 years ago. It was like arches, like Greek architecture, looked fantastic. And they kind of replaced that this year with just a strip down the right-hand side. And I honestly thought it was Merlin when I first see it. I was like, oh, that's quite a nice Merlin card. But it's actually Championship Contribution. So that's the only thing what I've seen so far that I'm not too happy with in terms of the actual look of the card. Don't get me wrong, the parallels are still very nice of it. But that set was so nice when it was all out there looking proper cool. But like we say, they can't always do the same thing every year, otherwise it'll get boring. Then we'd be complaining it's not different. So I was also looking. There's a lovely set, and it's called Behind the Lens Autographs, and it's more of like a variation auto. So if you haven't seen the pictures, if you head over to Topps' page on Twitter or on Instagram, you'll be able to see it. And there's 15 players in this list, all different ones, and there's one in particular I really liked. And it was a Jack Grealish one. And it's him standing there with I don't know the mascot's name of Man City, but he's standing there next to the mascot. And it's all got, and that's what we love to see in Stadium Club Chrome. It's stuff that you won't see anywhere else. I think there's a variation of a player, and he's sitting there on his computer playing a game. Like, you're not getting that anywhere else but Stadium Club Chrome. So,
No.
as well as there's a members only variation. And I've seen some of these pop up slowly. So, one of the main examples I've seen is Enzo Fernandez. He has his base card, which is not the best one. It's just him pretty much standing there. But his variations, him standing there, it's like a floral background, looks really good. So do keep your eyes out for the variations. That's what I always say with Stadium Club Chrome, because the bases are fantastic, and then the Stadium Club, and then get the variations as well. So it's just one of them that we haven't obviously seen every picture so far, but it's just great to see in it some of these wacky pictures that you won't see. I know obviously we always refer back to the Conrad Lima go-kart, for example, but it's just great to see these wacky pictures that you won't see it, like Tomiyasu walking in his tracksuit with his suitcase. You won't get that in any other set.
No, definitely. I think that's what separates Club Chrome from any other set. It's just the broad designs they've got on the picture, the broad picture designs they've got on the cards. I think, for me, it's just it makes it that more collectible. Like I said, when you've got, a player driving a go-kart, I mean, you'd never get that in Prism or Immaculate or Impeccable, would you? I mean, it's crazy, but I think, it gives that extra edge for collectors to think, oh, you know what, cool. Like, for me, I've got no interest in Bundesliga or Conrad Lima. But the card of him driving a go-kart, I'm like, that's it. I'm going to try and get a bit more of a rainbow of that, just because I thought it's such a cool card design. So yeah, I think, it really separates out Club Chrome from any other set in terms of how niche the card designs are. And like I said, I think in my opinion, it makes it so much more collectible because it's so different. Like for me, like I said, with Tomiyasu walking in the tracksuit, pulling on a suitcase, like, it's nothing. Ødegaard, obviously the classical Ødegaard design that we've got, all the flags behind him, and I just think it looks amazing. So, so we're definitely trying to do a rainbow of one of said 5 players, or trying to get a couple of the parallels and variations from some of them. So, but yeah, it just really separates out from any other set, just with how cool the card designs are. And like I said, if they would ever bring one back to the Premier League, obviously, I think it would be absolutely amazing, and it'll be so popular. But I'm just happy that Arsenal are finally in one.
Yeah, so we've got to say, because this is groundbreaking, I think this could be the first time in 78 episodes of the Top Loaded podcast. Now I'm going to say to you, you've actually bought into a break, haven't you?
Yeah, yeah. At least I think it's the first time since I've been on the podcast I've actually entered into a break. And yeah, obviously I'm in a 12 boxer for Club Chrome, obviously with the Arsenal spot. So yes, I'm definitely keeping my fingers crossed that luck is on my side, considering it's the first break I've been in probably over a year. So yeah, I'm hoping luck's on my side and I can pull some low numbered Arsenal card. But yes, I'm in a 12 boxer and got the Arsenal spot. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed.
Yeah, like I said, that's with our good friend, obviously, Lucas over at TFF. So we'll be in the chat when that one breaks. It should be a good one. And funny enough, and perfect segment, which I didn't plan, but it's worked perfectly. I'm in number one for Arsenal Brothers as well in women's chrome. So perfect interlude over to the women's chrome. Obviously, we've both ripped one of these, so people who can't see, but we've both ripped one of the blasters. And before we go into detail, H, another fantastic set and feels top quality as well.
Yeah, I think we both said before we start recording, the actual the feel of the cards feel incredible. I think they've got a much more prestigious feel to them. I think they feel much better. I mean, yeah, I was happy with my blaster. I thought my blaster was actually quite a good success. Went over to game on my lunch at work and managed to, I think there was like 4 or 5 left behind the counter. So managed to pick one up and ripped it when I got home, and yeah, was really happy. I got 3 numbered cards, all Lionesses, 1 Arsenal. So I think for me, yeah, I couldn't really argue with that. But yeah, I think again, card designs are brilliant. Card sort of the feel of the card is brilliant, and although the numbering is on the front, I don't think it looks that bad. I think it looks quite nice in the women's chrome.
Better than it did in men's chrome.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. I think it does look much better on the women's chrome than it does on men's chrome. So men's Merlin, sorry. But yeah, I said really happy with it. It's a great release. Obviously, again, looking forward to seeing the hobby boxes broken and seeing some more autos, some more lower numbered cards. I know I've seen a couple of autos and a couple of to 5s, I think, over on Instagram. So looking forward to seeing obviously some more big pulls from there. But yeah, I mean, it's another great set, and follows on perfectly from women's first year chrome.
Yeah, and I think the one thing I think is always really good with women's chrome is there's a lot of unique parallels and inserts that you don't see. Okay, Galazzo has carried over from men's into women's, and that's a fantastic insert. But I've got 2 examples here of just different inserts, which I think are just aesthetically so good. So this one is called Queens of Football. It's in a gold frame, and it's got like a cathedral look, castle look in the background, and it's just such a aesthetically pleasing card set. Yet again, another great idea from Topps. And then the other one is called Crowning Moments. And there is no way this doesn't go into men's chrome next year. It's some of the imagery on it. There's a Wendy Renard one, for example, her holding the Women's Champions League. It's just like really good looking cards. They've got autos of them as well, obviously parallels as well. And then also some unique parallels. Obviously, we had Inferno in women's chrome last time, obviously, which has slowly moved into the blasters of the UCC paper based. But we've got a rose gold mojo, which is to 125, and it is one of the nicest looking. I can't wait. Really want to see it in person, see how nice it is. It looks absolutely fantastic, and it's nice to see that women's chrome is getting that unique aspect of certain inserts are only in women's stuff, or certain parallels, because it gives it that uniqueness, that class about it as well. That it is such a great set, and it's really nice to know that they're taking it really serious. Yet again, like we say, some of the cards are very good looking. I picked up a Beth Mead Inferno last night. Yet again, the Infernos are just a very good looking parallel, especially on the chrome. The fire really pops out, and what they've done this year even more is that if the background of the actual image is a bit darker, the Inferno comes through that as well. So that again, very good looking card set. And like if we're talking overall 3, like obviously we had the blasters for Merlin and women's, and obviously the megas, which are sure we will see them being ripped soon, so we can give a better judgment of that tomorrow. But obviously these 3 all come out within 2 weeks of each other, all have retail versions in game. It's just a very good time, the hobby at the moment. Obviously, this is like the tail end of 2022, 2023 product before we have a bit of a wait now until 2023, 2024 product. But these 3 releases have all been successful in my eyes. Obviously, we're still waiting to see a bit more because of the slower release and obviously megas, but Topps done a very good job on these 3.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's been a massive sort of week and a half now for the hobby, and instead all 3 of them being accessible in game as well, which obviously is a massive win. So hopefully we'll see a lot more breaks happening over the next couple of days with all 3 products as well. But as you said, I can't really argue with what you said, ditto. I mean, literally, all 3 products have been a massive success. It's been great to see some more products. Obviously, I know arguably 3 at once sometimes, so you wait for a bus and 3 come at once. So, I think it's been really successful. I think, for me, obviously, Club Chrome will always top it. But, I was really pleased to pick up a blaster with the women's chrome in game. And I think, we can't really argue. There's been a lot more product now out in the market, a lot more breaks sort of happening, a lot more life, I think, in the hobby this last week and a half with all the different products being released. So so obviously it might be a bit of a a long wait into next year now for some new releases. But I think the last week and a half has really shown that we have got some good product out there, and when it does get released, obviously there's a massive hype around it, and I think it's still going to be another good couple of weeks with a lot of the new breaks happening now. Obviously with the 3 new products, so I think we've got an interesting couple of weeks ahead of us. I think we've got a lot to look forward to, a lot to go, and a lot to talk about, and hopefully we can see some big cards being pulled.
100%. Like we said, we'll keep attention, or else we'll talk about it next week. But obviously, moving on to there was quite a big bit of news coming out from the States. Obviously, this week is the week the NFL launches for its new season, which for us NFL fans is late nights, Sundays when Arsenal not playing, is sitting in front of the TV from 6 p.m. pretty much through to 4 a.m. just watching football upon football. But there was a news article that broke last week. So for anyone who don't understand the NFL, it's very different to the Premier League. So for when you're producing a card set, you need the NFLPA, which is the Football League Players Association, and the NFL's rights to produce cards. So you have to have NFL for the team names like Giants, Chargers, anything like that. And then you have to agree with the Players Association for the players' likeness, to like Mahomes, Brady. But a message come out via the NFLPA, which was NFL Players Incorporated terminated the trading card agreement with Panini. Effective immediately, Fanatics has exclusive right to make NFL branded trading cards. The decision has no impact on any individual player's contractual agreements with Panini. If you represent any players for existing Panini agreement, NFLPA recommends that you encourage the players to fulfill their contractual commitments to Panini. So this is one part of it before we talk about the Panini aspect of the NFL and Fanatics had a contract that was going to start in 2026. So it was obviously still 3 years away that would see the likes of Topps Chrome NFL return, which is a massive fans' favorite, and can't wait for that one to return. But so this was saying from immediately, Panini, you can't use any names of any NFL athlete, which was quite a big news, especially that the next day score was coming out for NFL. So it was ready too late for that. Obviously, however, as I briefly mentioned, it's 2-part aspect. So as it stands, the NFL contract with Panini is still existent, so they can still use all the team names and everything like that until 2026. But obviously, Panini, seeing this statement, did respond. So it was always good to have both sides of it, actually, before we come on. So Panini did issue this statement last Tuesday, saying, "We believe this was a totally unwarranted and improper action by the NFL Players Association in conjunction with Fanatics, especially in light of unprecedented sales by Panini of NFL trading cards. Panini has grown to a category of sports trading cards by over 1,000% since 2009 for the benefit of all concerned. We believe the only party who benefits from the action of the NFL Players Association is Fanatics and not the players, the leagues, or the consumers. We know that in addition to the NFL Players Association's license, Panini has licenses with the NFL and over 360 individual players. Panini will honor all contractual obligations." So getting a bit murky here in terms of what's going on. We don't quite know, but it seems, especially Panini, they're pointing fingers at one side of it, pointing fingers at Fanatics. But it's just a bit of a weird situation that we've got a thing here now. It's an ongoing dispute that no doubt when they say this set's going to come out saying you can't use it, because for anyone who don't know, I should have an example with me, but I haven't got any NFL boxes next to me at the moment, that every pack will have the NFL logo and the NFL Players Association's logo on it as well, because that's the 2 licenses they need. Whereas Premier League, all they need to do is Premier League, and then Premier League gives them a license to use players and all the teams. So going forward, hopefully it gets resolved. It's a bit up in the air at the moment. But on the flip side, there's going to be a lot of people who are very much looking forward to the chance of well, it won't be NFL Chrome at the moment because they don't have the licensing, but some sort of football Chrome product. So we'll keep you ongoing with that every week, depending on, no doubt, it'll be either the NFLPA come out next or Fanatics to reference it. But H is a bit of drama. Hobby loves drama, always does. But it's one of them that it's, especially if their contracts are 3 years left, Fanatics are obviously going to try and get something a bit sooner rather than be waiting in the shadows for 3 more years.
Yeah, definitely. I think, we know that Fanatics are going to try and, get their foot in the door, and they've made a statement with that already, and Panini aren't going to roll over and let it go, which obviously evidently they've made very clear. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how Fanatics play out and how Panini respond. Yeah, could it be a sign of things we're expecting to come going forward with obviously Fanatics trying to nab things here and there, or is it going to be a case of Panini aren't gonna let it fly? So it's interesting to see how it plays out, interesting to see what happens, what the outcome will be. But yeah, I think Fanatics really are making a statement now they're not going to be hanging about for licensing to end or for contracts to end. They're not hanging about. So yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see what actually happens with all the interesting things going on.
Yeah, and talking about Panini, Topps, and other card manufacturers, obviously, how everyone sees it, there's big two, which is Topps, Panini, and then you've got like Leaf, for example, you've got Futera, and then some people will know Dakar, Chinese company. They've done a very nice Celtic set last year, and also they've done a lovely Argentina set. They've been done others. I think they've done a Espanyol set, potentially a Sociedad set. They've done a Dortmund set. So they've been getting the licenses of these big teams. And today I see a picture on their Instagram page. It's called Dakar Casual, I think it is, or something along them lines. They put pictures out when people are signing. They've got the Liverpool license. And I was talking to a few people like in the hobby about it, and we was talking like there's a big gap in between Panini, Topps, and then the rest. Leaf do great autos, nice looking cards, but never any much licensing, so that puts them away. Futera have licensing, but not always the best looking cards or good looking cards, but then they don't have the license. Then Dakar only do actually licensing stuff. So do you feel like there's room, and it's quite good to have this competition at the next level down underneath the Panini and Topps, that they might get these other licensing of like Liverpool's, for example, and then because there needs to be a bit more options for the collector, I would say, especially these teams, because if you're a Liverpool fan, you've got Panini Topps, but it's nice to have something completely different on card autos and stuff like that. So we've seen it with us and Futera, but it's nice to have that other option as well and a different looking card as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think we've seen Futera pretty much run the market for that recently. Within the last year to 2 years within the hobby, Futera pretty much run that on card hobby and on card. Geez, I can't get words out today. On card autos. I think it's interesting. There's nothing like healthy competition. Obviously, I know, like I said, Dakar are getting these team licensing now with on-card autos like Legends and whatnot. So, I think it's interesting to see. It's like I said, you can't argue with variations within the hobby and different designs, different manufacturers. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what this Liverpool set will look like. As I said, for any Liverpool fan, obviously it's a win. You can't really argue with another product. But yeah, like I said, it's interesting to see what Futera will be like with Dakar now with these team licensing sets. And I know even Futera recently released them about the new Arsenal packs that were, I think, released on the website last week. So yeah, it's interesting. I'm interested to see what it's going to be like. I know Futera has been successful with these sort of team drops, and hopefully Dakar will be as well. And it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Yeah, that's for any Liverpool fan. It's like you're laughing.
Yeah, like I say, Liverpool, Barcelona, Chelsea, Man City, to name a few, have all got the Topps license. There's rumblings and murmurs going on behind the scenes that I've heard that potentially Arsenal are working in partnership with Topps soon, which would be fantastic for us. And likewise, we'd like to see other teams get them licenses, and then opens up the door for having a lot more variety of cards, and especially like the Chelsea one, they open it up for a lot more women's stuff. Also, youth products, you get a lot more of them in sets. Same with Liverpool with their lineage sets that they've done with them, having a lot of their rookies and like youth players with their Bowman. So I was going to say it's going to be very good. It's going to be quite an interesting thing to monitor over the next couple of months. But talking about things monitoring, and there's a lot of people's card prices / markets are going to be very different this time next week. So for anyone who don't know, this Friday obviously is transfer deadline day within the UK. Obviously not for other leagues. For example, Saudi Arabia have got another 2 weeks to nick all the players from Europe. So it's going to be a weird one because there's going to be certain players' cards that are selling very well today of recording, but next Tuesday might be hardly selling. So very good example is obviously Kai Havertz. All his Chelsea stuff doesn't really sell anymore, obviously because he's moved to us. Germany still does well. So it's going to be an interesting one because there's going to be one or two potential shock moves of going to a rival or something like that will end up making or even breaking someone's whole hobby perspective, and like a load of cards could go from 50 quid to a fiver or a tenner.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's going to be one to keep my eye on. I think I hate to say, but I'm hoping Smith Rowe doesn't go to Chelsea. I know there's been a bit of speculation in the last 48 hours with him looking at a move to Chelsea. But you saw it with also, Aubameyang last year, his Arsenal cards do not sell for a penny now. No one wants to buy them. Like you said, you see it with Havertz, and you'll see it with probably a couple of other players. There's always them big transfers on deadline day. Normally, there's a massive shock last minute punt by a club to try and nab a Derby Day player or to bring someone else in. So yeah, it's always interesting. Players' value, and if the players' card value could literally, you said, half, if not quarter in the space of 48 hours. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see what shock moves happen on Friday, and how that affects obviously the card prices of said players. So there's always a couple of big last minute deals on deadline day. So I'll be interested to see who that is and what it entails within the hobby. But it's definitely going to be interesting, that's for sure.
Yeah, like we said, there's been a load of transfers so far this window that I'm very intrigued to see, like Jude Bellingham when he's in the Real Madrid kit, what that does for his prices next year. Obviously, the famous all-white Galactico jersey is going to do well, especially knowing Stadium Club Chrome. They've already done it with his arms out, but that's the iconic celebration now for him. No doubt they're going to do the same for him in Real Madrid. Obviously, the likes of a lot of players as well are going out to different leagues where there's no licensing. You look at all the Saudi Arabian players at the moment, high chance that the only sets they're going to be in is international stuff or like a legend set. Ronaldo obviously can be a legend for Juve, Real Madrid, Man United, Lisbon, for example. But the likes of Sadio Mane, even one, Gabby Vega, for example, fantastic young prospect coming out of Spain, playing for Celta Vigo's now moved to Saudi Arabia as well. So he's going to be a chance that he's had 1, 2, 3 card sets potentially, and now we might go 4 years before coming back to Europe with no cards. So it's going to be very intriguing because it's a mix of players going out there now. A lot of big names have now gone out there, even though the spotlight will turn its attention over to Saudi Arabia, no doubt. But then likewise as well, Messi now going into the tops market with the MLS, and the MLS do make some very good looking cards. Obviously, they do go along the same lines as European competition. It's chrome paper, finest. And then there's one called Renaissance, which is a bit like a dynasty, which is unbelievably good looking cards, which if he's in next year with autos and patches, it's going to, no doubt, everyone will be buying MLS products, which would be great for me when I want to pick up some MLS cards because the Inter Miami spot will probably be 95% of the box, and then I can pick up Red Bulls for like a $5, which would be fantastic. But yeah, it's just going to be quite intriguing, HN. I was talking to someone else about this the other day. Surely someone's going to have to try and snap out the Saudi license at the moment because there's too many big names in that league not to have cards coming out.
Yeah, you've literally hit the nail on the head there. I think there's so many big names that have now gone to Saudi Arabia that to not have a license or not have any cards products that have the Saudi Arabian league in there, it just seems there's a massive whole gap for that in the market. And you've got Ronaldo over there, you've got Mane, you've got Mahrez, you've got so many big names that have gone over there now that it just seems too good to be true not to have a license for the league. So I can't imagine it would take a company, Fanatics, Topps, Panini, whoever that may be, too long to get a licensing out there for Saudi Arabian leagues and to have these big names back in card products. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how long that will take, and if it does happen, that is. But I said there's a lot of big names over there now for it not to have. Ronaldo obviously being the main prospect in there to not have any licensing for any cards. So I think it'll be interesting to see, how quickly that'll take and who it will be that takes the punt to get a license for it if they allow the licensing to happen. But yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting couple of weeks and interesting week probably in that fact to see how card prices are affected.
Who knows? Saudi probably might just buy out Panini or actually probably just make their own company and produce their own cards. Like they've got the money, so they can definitely do it. They've got all the, I think I was reading about the image rights and everything's built into their contracts already. So it's ready, good to go if they want to make. No doubt they probably will make their own ones, to be fair. So, like I said, that'd be quite intriguing. But now, obviously, as well, we're actually close to, obviously, this week. That is a return Champions League draw for the group stage. So we're only weeks away from Champions League next season. So, obviously, Topps now will be making a re-emergence very soon, which will be a lot of people's first actual product in their new kits when they do come out of the cards. So, like I said, that's another one to always look forward to, especially if the parallels as well, especially some of the young guys on the moves. Obviously, Shema Gula, for example, has got injured for Real Madrid at the moment, but he was going to be a good one in the Real Madrid colours. Obviously, he's got a few bits for Fenerbahce, obviously his team before. But like I say, it's an exciting time in the hobby. Obviously, now it's going to be a bit of a lull point that there might be a couple of sets that come out, more creative sets, but the actual hobby releases do go very quiet really until January, February, unless we do get an earlier product this year. So it's one of them now that a lot of buying and selling really happens now because there's not as many sets to look forward to. But then again, creative sets to make. So it's quite a nice period, the hobby at the moment. You're reflecting on last year. You're looking forward to next year. It's quite a good point to have.
Yeah, definitely. I think, we've got the whole, last 9 months to look back on. We've had some incredible releases. Obviously, we've not quite finished off, but we have obviously got a nice 3 sets that have been released in the last week and a half to sort of, round the year off with at the moment. I think, it's been a very successful year for releases, and, we can definitely look forward now to next year with some more popular releases and seeing how they compare to this year's releases and what we've got going forward. But I think it's definitely a successful year in terms of releases and breaks and product that we've had on the market. So we've seen probably the first bit of product in game in the UK, obviously aside from score in Smiths. But I think it's been a very successful year, and we can probably look back towards the end of this year and take some note of some successful products that we've had. But also, more importantly, we can look forward to next year and see what incredible releases we're going to have from the companies next year.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I think it's going to be a very interesting time, especially to look forward to new stuff. Look back, obviously, I think a lot of people this time of year look at their collections and see what they want to add to it, if there's any new players their team's brought in, or in general, any new prospects. So, like I say, it's going to be quite an intriguing period. Obviously, next week, we'll be able to talk a little bit more about Stadium Club Chrome once we see it a lot more, and obviously see the build up of the mega boxes because they're going to be quite intriguing. And who knows what news we're going to get between now and next week, because like I say, the Panini fanatics with the NFL's rumbling on in the background. No doubt there'll be a lot more going on as well. Transfer window and everything like that. But like we say, there's a few guests we've got lined up, which we're hopefully going to be able to bring you very soon. But like we say, from me and H, obviously, thank you ever so much for listening or watching into another episode of the Top Local Podcast. Hope you're buying, selling, trading, and all that good jazz. But most importantly, happy hobbying and good night.